you hear that music in the background? Obviously, we can't play it or else CBS will sue us for everything that we're worth. But it's that dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. That's right, people. Later on today, Selection Sunday, we will find out who the teams are, the lucky ones that are going to Indy for this unprecedented style and format of NCAA tournament. A lot of things still to hash out in the next hours or so as conference tournaments are finishing up and teams on the bubble are hoping that their bubble doesn't get burst at some point on Sunday. So guys, I want to start it off with probably the most important question. I think head and shoulders, Gonzaga has proven that they are by far the best team in the country. And that now begs the question going in to March Madness with the best team in college basketball. It's always, are you taking them or the rest of the field? So Jimmy, I'm looking at you first. When you look at this Gonzaga team, they are dominant, but this is a very, very unique situation, unique season amid the pandemic. But when you think about this tournament, are you taking Gonzaga over the rest of the field?
Probably. I'm not going to say 100% sure because there are no sureties until you see the bracket and the matchups and all that. I think it's hard not to. And there was a lot of conjecture about a team like Baylor, for example, being able to play Gonzaga. To be honest with you, I'm kind of out on Baylor at this point. They have lost a couple of games recently. They lost to Kansas in the regular season. They got knocked out of the Big 12 tournament, I should say. They have 10 teams, but it's confusing. The Big 12 tournament by Oklahoma State and Kate Cunningham on Friday night. They were unconvincing in their quarterfinal game against Kansas State, who's not going to be in the tournament. So I'm not sold on Baylor. But the thing is, and the reason why I answer your question in the affirmative, Andrew, is that when I look at all of the other teams, Baylor, Illinois, Michigan, maybe Iowa, I'm a little partial to the Big Ten, I can't lie. But as I look at those teams, I can find a way to talk my way out of all of those teams. And on down the line, by the way, there's plenty more teams just like that. It's very hard for me to talk my way out of Gonzaga. This is a team that, you've got Jalen Suggs, who's a great NBA draft prospect. Corey Kispert has a decent case for National Player of the Year. Drew Timmy's really good. This is just a great, great team. And the other night they played BYU. BYU came out firing. They could not miss in the first, 25 minutes of that game, basically. And Gonzaga was still able to win. And BYU's good. Don't get me wrong. BYU is probably the best team they play in conference all year, just by figure of the WCC. So, when I look at that as we sit here right now, unless something big changes between now and Friday, I think it's Gonzaga.
I'm taking the field. I am. I love those Big Ten teams. And I think in a year like this, being battle tested is going to be big. And all those teams are. So for me, it's almost like Big Ten over the rest of the field. Any of those top four teams, in my opinion. I mean, right now, Gonzaga, it seems like they just added an NBA prospect, like a great program, and they brought in one of those stars and like that. And like, they're just so good and they're undefeated. But I almost feel like being undefeated is not good in this sense because, you haven't seen a team beat you. And like, then you could, especially really good teams, they're really good at basically playing off of that. And then basically knowing how we struggle. And then you can then basically make it better. And when you have all that great program with Gonzaga, Mark Few, I would almost rather see them lose a game than so they can fix it. And then just like when you're trying to be undefeated, it's like that streak and the pressure there is just so big. And then with these Big Ten teams, they've played some really good teams in conference tournament regular season that I really like. One of those teams, the one I like most is Iowa, just what they're doing. Luka Garza is just, really a great player. And again, I feel like they're going to run into one of those teams. I think they'll make a deep run, but I think they're going to run into one of those teams and ultimately lose.
Yeah, I'm torn because on any given year, I mean, you're always going to take the field, even with a great dominant college basketball team. And just because on any given moment, any given night, you can lose. But as Jimmy alluded to, this is not your typical Gonzaga team that's happy-go-lucky. We have a couple guys who may be fringe NBA players, and we do it collectively. No, there are some talented players on this team, and there are no holes. This team can play defense. Offensively, they can score with anybody. If you want it fast-paced, half-court, Fewy does. He has just done a masterful job there, and I think this season they are hell bent to show everyone that those 25 years of success, it can culminate in that national title that a lot of people over there in Washington are looking for over there in Spokane. But it's going to be difficult because I think teams like Michigan, a team like, the Illini, very young, but so talented. And if they can just put it together, they can give Gonzaga their best shot. But when you see a team like BYU, just hand them a first half haymaker like that, and for Gonzaga to get up and say, all right, that's your best shot. Let's give you our best shot and see if you can keep up with this, and then go on to win that game rather easily. I think it speaks volumes. And Jimmy, that's a Gonzaga team. Whichever other 15 teams are on that side of the bracket, I'm sure a lot of them are going to be planning for maybe early round exits if Gonzaga's around.
Yeah, and I think also this, to me, is different than Kentucky a few years ago when they were undefeated. ESPN was putting Kentucky's games on every night. They were hyping it like crazy. They had the commercials with the Nelly song. Like, it was, it was a very big deal. And nothing against Gonzaga, but I didn't see them doing that for Gonzaga because of the schedule, because, it's a much harder sell when you've got Gonzaga versus San Francisco, for example. To me, I don't see it quite the same way. And I think if Gonzaga were to finish the season undefeated, I think a lot of people won't see it the same way as, say, a blue blood power finishing undefeated, especially given the nature of this season, where I almost feel like in some ways it's easier to go undefeated if you stay healthy because there's less games. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think it's the same at all.
Yeah, and I would just pose this question to the both of you, because I really think this year is the year for Gonzaga if they want to win a national title, because if you're Coach Few, you're not expecting to get these great recruiting classes year in and year out. That's just not going to be the case there in Gonzaga. So, Galata, do you think if Gonzaga doesn't win it this year, do you ever see them winning a national title? I mean, because this seems like the best team that Coach Few will ever have in his tenure.
I mean, you never say never. I thought last year they had a great team too. And, maybe, like just everything got canceled. So maybe that's kind of would have been their year. I don't know. I could definitely see them, this year could be their best shot, but who knows who they get in future years. I mean, if they go close, let's say they go to the Final Four and not win, maybe other players like of the Jalen Suggs caliber still can go there. And, they've been so close to a national champions. It's not like they've just been like a 1 seed and they get bounced in like the round of 32, like every year. Like they usually go really far, and it's just them knocking down that door. And I guess eventually, if you get to the Final Four enough times, you're going to win one. And maybe this is the best team they do it. It's just, I don't know. It's just the whole situation. Like they've not been really battle tested at all. And I feel like, you talk about BYU giving them their haymaker. What's it like when a team like Iowa gives their haymaker?
Exactly.
Or another team? And like, that's something that scares me because they haven't had that adversity. And when it's just one game, it's tight. It's very tight. Like, I mean, you just saw like with the team with Zion a few years ago, I thought that team was easily going to win. And that team was so good. They had all the young talent and they had all the prospects, and they didn't win. They had a few games. I think they escaped one game in Sweet 16, then Elite 8, they got knocked out. Like, these teams that see so much success, you'd almost rather have a battle-tested team from the Big Ten that could play good defense and just, I don't know, like these Gonzaga teams, they just right now it's hard to go undefeated. This tournament is hard to win, especially after you went undefeated. I mean, I don't know, it's gonna be really tough for them.
Yeah, if Gonzaga can't do it this year, I mean, with that team that they have, I mean, it's hard for me to think they are absolutely the prohibitive favorite. And as long as they stay healthy and stay free of COVID-19, you're going to be hard pressed to convince me that any team can beat Gonzaga at their best